Hello, everybody. How are y'all doing? I hope you're doing great. This time I'm going to be reacting to bite-sized oddities, BN 6599 and NREX 9402 by Cowl Unit Productions. I did the one for that UP unit that had a porch potty. I'll probably link it in the description in case you haven't seen it. But anyway, I feel like doing a 2-on-1 again. So let's get started with the episode for BN 6599.
Around 1984, EMD experimented with making a 4-axle radio truck similar in design to their existing HTCR series of trucks.
HTC, you meant? That's an interesting design. I know the only time they ever attempted those was back with the DDA 40Xs and DD35s, although they worked better with the Centennials, but I've never seen this type of design or attempt before.
Making a 4-axle radio truck similar in design to their existing HTCR series of trucks. The trucks were two rigid 4-axle bogies connected with a span pulser to minimize weight shift. To test the trucks, BN approached EMD with sending out one of their existing workhorses, as one of the BN's managers expressed interest in testing out the radial truck due to the potential of more tractive effort it can produce for locomotives. The unit in question was SCP-45 number 6599. Originally built in 1967 for the Great Northern, it was quickly absorbed into Burlington Northern ownership and was renumbered twice in its career before settling into her new number of 6599. She was fitted with the radial bogie in September 1984 and was tested over the Stampede Pass over the span of 2 weeks. The test showed the wheel's lateral loads proved better than existing 6-axle bogies, and the unit rode smoothly with the suspension of the flex coil springs assisting in the journey. Despite the positives, though, the cost of further development and the purchasing of components, plus finding a suitable alternator for handling 8 axles, will result in the program being canned.
That's kind of a shame, actually, because it seemed mostly successful, though. If they were to continue further development of this, wouldn't it mean having to fully rebuild it with 8-axle trucks entirely? Effectively making it into some kind of hybrid unit? I mean, it already was with those type of different trucks, but still. But yeah, I must admit that's kind of disappointing they never did further development on that.
After the tests were complete, 6599 would be refitted with its original rear bogie and would continue serving the Burlington Northern for another 3 years before being retired in 1987. While the bogie had good intentions and the experiment proving a success, it wasn't considered economical or financially suitable to continue developing the bogie any further, and ever since, we haven't had any new 8-axle locomotives in Raritan as of today. Somewhat.
So that unit is retired. I hope it's somewhere being used somewhere else and just not scrapped. But at least I kind of understand where it's went. But yeah, interesting experiment, I must say. Anyway, let's get to the next one. If I can look for it, where is it at? Here it is. NREX 9402.
I'm telling you, something is happening everywhere.
Oh yeah, I know about the edge.
Rebuilding locomotives is not a new concept in Raritan, and
Haha! The BNSF beep. I've already seen that video at least.
nothing noticeable comes from these rebuilds, but one of them is probably the most unusual out of these ratings.
Well, I can tell that has to be an XSP with those nose mounted lights. It must be a tunnel motor.
9402 originally started its career on the Cotton Belt, being built in 1975 and spending a ordinary life handling freight across the Cotton Belt's network. She managed to last into the days of the Southern Pacific and even a brief career on the Union Pacific.
But what did that say?
Into the days of the Southern Pacific and even a brief career on the Union Pacific.
9402 was presumably given the UP number of 4857. It's unknown if it got patched or not, seeing as there are no images of 9402 with its UP number or patch. Okay.
She would eventually be retired in 1999 and sold off to the National Rail Equipment in Silvis, Illinois.
Dear God, it really does break my heart to see all that classic power just sitting in these yards, just rotting away. Most of them end up being scrapped or used for part sources and whatnot. It's depressing as a rail fan. It really is. Like, I can automatically see X Conrail, X CSX, couple UPs and SPs and a whole bunch of stuff, man. Like, it's sad.
Where she'd undergo her unusual makeover. Emerging from the NRE shops, it was repainted into a gray scheme, alongside with being derayed to an SC40-2, and borrowing the hood off of a former NSSC 40-2.
Okay, that's pretty odd looking, I must admit. Now I can see why it's called the porch unit.
Aside from modifications, her cab and frame were still original. This new long hood would result in a very long back porch from the rear of the locomotive, which you could probably make an Airbnb out of. This locomotive would eventually become a unique phenomenon with rail fans, as she would eventually spend her career running coast to coast on various freight trains on lease to various railroads, before she was kicked into storage in 2014.
Oh, that sucks. But you know, with how it is, with how it's modified that way, it kind of gives it that appearance of a type of EMD unit you would see in a European country that have like extended axles and porches like that. Kind of reminds me of that, if you know what I mean.
And from that point onwards, she would continue to decay alongside her fellow locomotives in Silvis. Despite other locomotives being sold off and scrapped from the NRE, she had managed to remain intact even after so long. But she likely will or has met her fate as of recent, even after.
Oh, and thank you for crediting Jeff Toft, one of my favorite railfan channels, actually. This was 7 months ago at the time of editing. It's likely gone now, but I could be wrong. Well, I do hope for the best that it's actually still there or somewhere else, still intact. Along with the most of these poor souls.
For so long. But she likely will or has met her fate as of recent, seeing as the NRE has sold its Silvis grounds to the RRHMA, or this name right here.
Yep.
And seeing as the last of the NRE's locomotives have either been cut up, moved elsewhere, or likely intact awaiting a disposal, 9402's future is already looking grim. It seems like her days are already numbered.
Well, RIP, I guess. But anyway, that's going to do it for the reaction video. I hope you all enjoyed it. I will link the videos in the description down below, even if they're already displayed on the screen. But I will hopefully see you all in the next video. Have a good day or night and afternoon. You take care.